So what do I mean by that? It's not enough to make sure the woman has a good job, but if she doesn't have somewhere to leave her children, a good child care, she can't be at her job as the number of hours she wants to be there. Or if a woman has a bank account, but it's not in her name, or the property's not in her name, she's not fully empowered. And so I think we need to really shift and look at the barriers around women and break those down so she can step into her full power.
How easy or difficult is it to achieve this?
Well, it depends. I mean, different societies are easier, I think, than others. But what I'll say that I'm impressed with here in India is the commitment all the way from the Prime Minister through the various ministries of government. You know, Prime Minister Modi has put this squarely on the agenda, and sometimes you hear a Prime Minister talk about these things, but what I see is action coming out of this government. The Women and Child Welfare Department, I was with them, or Development Department, I was with them last night, hearing all the different ministries baking gender policy into their programs, seeing that, you know, the government is serious about women's health. Those are all important steps and actions that you can see happening.
The pandemic we talked about, it was tough on all of us. But you also mentioned that it was unequal to women.
Well, because it pushed so many women worldwide out of the labor force, right? So when all these businesses shut down and people were at home, finally the invisible became visible. You know, women are expected in every society in the world to take care of the children, and usually the elderly. Some of that's the loving work we want to do for our children and our parents, but it's also quite tedious and laborious, some of it. And so what we're seeing is that women are going back, men and women are going back to their jobs, but women aren't going back at the same rate because there's been a crisis now in the child care sector and they don't have anywhere to put the children. And so until we address that, you're not going to get women fully back in the formal sector.
What we saw in the pandemic was ASHA workers or women across the country going across and spreading this message of wanting to, having to get vaccinated. Some of those stories are so inspiring. Do you believe the world needs to know those stories and learn from them? There are many nations that could actually follow India's template.
Oh my gosh, there are so many nations that need to learn from that. I mean, those ASHA workers are the frontline soldiers. And not even before we got immunizations, I saw the ASHA workers. I was home in Seattle. We were all home. I was home in Seattle cheering because I've met those women, some of them. They were out giving messages early on about hand washing, about wearing masks, about social distancing. They were creating masks. They were sewing masks and distributing. Then when there finally was a vaccine available, they were the front line of making sure people had the right information, knew the vaccine was coming, and then got people vaccinated. There isn't a health system that I know in the world that wouldn't like to have the ASHA system that is here in India.
Good evening, hello and viewpoint. I'm Anusha Soni. A scathing order from a Delhi court prima facie highlights the role of Aam Aadmi Party corporator Tahir Hussain in the Northeast Delhi riots of 2020. The court, while passing the order on the framing of charges, has noted that Delhi riots and the acts of Tahir Hussain seem to be premeditated. It was a conspiracy, the court notes. There were various voices that had defended the AAP leader earlier. He was even termed a victim. But the court sets the record straight, and the court says there is no evidence, at least for now, to say that he was a victim in the riots. The Delhi riots of 2020 was a premeditated conspiracy, and the process of law is finally catching up. Where lies the political accountability? That's the key question we ask. First up, a special report.
Nearly 3 years after riots in the capital, there is a big twist in the story. While framing charges against former Aam Aadmi Party councillor Tahir Hussain, a Delhi court said the accused targeted Hindus with a clear-cut objective to harm them and their property in every possible manner. The court order says, the facts and evidence of this case show that a number of persons assembled at the house of Tahir Hussain. Some of them were equipped with firing weapons. Petrol bombs were also arranged by accumulating the required materials in the house of Tahir Hussain. Stones were stored in this house in sacks. All these things were used to target Hindus.
Today, the courts have yet again confirmed that the Delhi riots were not a sahyog but a socha samjha vote bank ka udyog and prayog, and the mastermind was Aam Aadmi Party's councillor Tahir Hussain, and the clear-cut objective was to target Hindus.
Tahir Hussain was seen in multiple videos that emerged at the time of the riots. One of the videos was tweeted by BJP leader Kapil Mishra, showing Tahir Hussain on the roof of his house carrying a lathi. Massive plumes of smoke were seen billowing up directly from the building below. Aides of Tahir Hussain positioned themselves in various parts of the building. Most of them had their faces covered. A second video is even more damning. It shows a huge mob on Tahir Hussain's roof, and they appear to be throwing petrol bombs on the crowd below.
जो दिल्ली दंगा था वो अनप्लान्ड नहीं था, वेल प्लान्ड दंगा था। ताहिर हुसैन का रोल बहुत क्रिटिकल है, बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है। इसने फंडिंग भी मैनेज कराई है।
So is the anti-Hindu plot behind the Delhi riots now completely exposed?
Various videos on social media were doing rounds. There were various police personnel who have been made a witness in this case. And all of these critical evidence have been put forward before the court of law where the framing of charges has happened. Joining us on the broadcast is a full panel of guests. Right now, I have Mr. Kapil Sankla, who's a senior advocate with us on the broadcast. Kapil, good evening. Thank you so much for speaking to us. I want to get a perspective from you as far as this court order is concerned. I'm going to read out few portions to you. These are some critical ones. And this is the part of the order where the court finally comes to certain degree of conclusion after recording the submissions of the defense and the prosecution. It is also well apparent that this mob had assembled out of a deliberation in the house of the accused Tahir Hussain. The conduct of accused Tahir Hussain as appearing in these video clips is not consistent with such plea of being a victim. The court goes on to say it is sufficient to show that he was a member of that mob, and the role imputed to him is to instigate the mob to attack, to guide, to facilitate such an attack in order to accomplish the common object of unlawful assembly. How scathing is this order which has been passed by the Delhi court? Kapil, can you hear me? Am I audible to you?
Yes, I can hear you, please. Yes, you can. Thank you.
Good evening. Kapil, the point that I was trying to make to you, I read few portions of the court order which the Delhi court has passed today. And this is the portion of the order which where the court comes to certain degree of conclusions, prima facie speaking, because this is on framing of charges. In these portions of the order, the court goes on to say that the role that Tahir Hussain had was to incite the mob, to lead the mob, and his entire version that he was a victim of some sort is not consistent with the evidence on record. In fact, the court also says that all the houses that were targeted were Hindu houses. How scathing is this order from the Delhi court?
It's a very strong and a very substantive order. So you have to appreciate this thing, that after the investigation, the investigating officer or the agency concludes its investigation, puts it into a file, presents it before the court, which is called the charge sheet. The charge sheet is read for the first time by the court, and the court applies its mind on the charges or the documents for the first time, on the evidence on record, and comes to a prima facie conclusion whether a case is made out or not made out. This is called taking cognizance of the charge sheet, which means application of mind for the first time, judicial mind. And if the court comes to a prima facie case that charges are made out, not only that, but there seems to be strong evidence, because here the kind of allegations which are there and the charges that are framed are very important. You know, you're talking about rioting, you're talking about dacoity, you're saying prima facie Hindu houses were targeted, that his house was used as the epicenter of the violence that took place, that an officer was pulled in after his body was found in a gutter after 2 days. So these are very scathing attacks, very scathing allegations on this gentleman, on the accused in general. And what is also important is that the court has come up with a prima facie case as to the motive. Now, in any case which pertains to conspiracy, we are talking about umbrella conspiracy, motive itself becomes important. Here, the motive also has been put in by the court.
The motive has been put in by the court, and I shift the debate to the aspect of political accountability. This was an Aam Aadmi Party corporator. When he was arrested, there were various statements that were made to defend him. He even said that he's a victim. He was trying to protect people. The court disagrees. The court says that your entire version that you're a victim is not supported, and this court order is a testimony to that fact. I also have with me on the broadcast Mr. Tausif Ahmed Khan, who's an advocate, political analyst, is joining us on the broadcast. Good evening, Tausif. Thank you for speaking to us. This order in many ways is a answer to everyone who was trying to defend Tahir Hussain. And there were various questions that have been raised on his conduct, but this court order seals it in many ways. Yes, the case is not proven. Yes, final evidence yet has to emerge. But as Kapil was pointing out, this order is the first application of mine by a court of law after looking at the evidence from the defense and the prosecution. Wherein lies the political responsibility? Tausif.
So you see, Tahir Hussain's counsel submitted that other than bald statement of witnesses who saw him on the roof of his house, there are no other materials has been produced by the prosecution.
Okay.
Now let us please consider this. If I am defending my life and my property, I would be at my property. If I am leading a charge, attacking anybody else's life and property, then I would be at somebody else's property, leading the attack, and charging at the property and life of the others. In our case, in Tahir Hussain's case, it is a clear case that he is defending. Now, this, you see, all this is subject to the trial, and the entire process of the court is yet to be commenced. It is only mere framing of charges, and we all know that once police makes a charge, police very often, it is all proven, very often follows the orders of his political bosses. Once the police frames a, the court is inclined in more, unless there are
Tausif, can I point out to one aspect of the court order? This is a part of the order where the court goes on to note a few things. The facts and the evidence of the case show that a number of persons assembled at the house of Tahir Hussain. Some of them were equipped with firing weapons. Petrol bombs were also arranged by accumulating the required materials in the house of Tahir Hussain. Stones were stored in this house in sacks. All these things were used to target Hindus. That is what this court order knows. So the fact that he was static at one place, and that is some kind of defense in law, the court disagrees, and rightly so. Reasonably speaking, just because you're static at one place, you're at your rooftop, there are weapons which have been recovered, you can't really defend yourself in that way.
It's very crucial. The location is very crucial. You see, there are mobs, a communal mob armed with petrol bomb, armed with hockey sticks, armed with iron rods, and armed with pistols approaching you. Where are you standing? You're standing at your property. You're also law gives an authority to any citizen of India to
have firing weapons.
To
have firing weapons.
Themselves. You see, we have a
Yes,
case
Kapil,
of Ehsan Qureshi. Ehsan Qureshi's house was surrounded by the mob, and he was killed along with his family members and his house. So what do people do if there is a mob approaching you in a communal riot? Lord not say that you must die.
No. One second. I think, no. This is a thorough misrepresentation of the argument. You are right that if a mob is approaching my house, or God forbid your house, you would do everything in your capacity to defend yourself. That's one thing. The second thing is to have sacks of stones with you. The second thing is to have petrol bombs at your house, to have firing weapons at your house. I mean, that's premeditated. You have to plan all of those things in order to have them at your house. That's not defense, that's an attack.
How can I attack if I'm standing at my own property?
Through your rooftop. There are videos through your rooftop.
If I carry the weapon to somebody else's property, then my intention to attack is clear.
Sanjay Mishra is also joining us on the broadcast. Kapil, a quick point from you, then I'll go to Sanjay Mishra.
Quickly saying that my friend just said that except for the witnesses on site, which are called Mauke ke Gawah, and Mauke ke Gawah are nailed in any coffin of any of these conspiracy cases. If they are there, police does not really have to bring anything more. But here you also have amateur videographers taking videos, which are also there on record. So I don't know what my friend is saying. That is all that I wanted to say. Mauke ke Gawah is enough in any case of conspiracy.
You know, I am
I-
reading, there are 8 points which have been mentioned as far as the evidence against Tahir Hussain is concerned. And interesting to note in this piece of evidence that has been recorded by the court, that he has a CCTV installed in his house, but none of the CCTV has any kind of recording. So that's another interesting aspect. If this was all so clean, then the CCTV recording from his own house would have helped him defend his
Conduct
case.
of the
And,
accused.
you know, his conduct is clearly questioned in the evidence which is on record. I want to cut across to Sanjay Mishra as well. Sanjay जी, आज कोर्ट से एक ऑर्डर आया है और उस कोर्ट ऑर्डर में साफ-साफ कहा जा रहा है कि ताहिर हुसैन ने 2020 में जो दिल्ली में रायट्स हुए, उसमें इस तरह की भूमिका निभाई है जो किसी अक्यूज्ड की होती है, जो किसी संदिग्ध व्यक्ति की होती है, वो विक्टिम नहीं है इस पूरे केस में। यहाँ तक भी कहा गया है कि वो और उनके कई साथियों ने हिंदू घर और परिवारों को टारगेट किया, वहां से पेट्रोल बॉम्ब मिले थे, वहां से फायरिंग वेपन्स मिले, बोरियां भर भर के पत्थर मिले हैं। तो कहीं ना कहीं कोर्ट का कहना है कि जो एविडेंस है, जो पूरा साक्ष्य है उनके खिलाफ, वो बहुत सीरियस है। आम आदमी पार्टी ने बहुत लंबे समय तक अपने कॉर्पोरेटर को डिफेंड किया है।
देखिए, कोर्ट ने जो कुछ भी कहा है उसके ऊपर मुझे कुछ भी नहीं कहना है। कोर्ट पे मुझे पूरा भरोसा है और मैं समझता हूँ कि भारतीय नागरिक होने के नाते हम सबको कोर्ट का सम्मान करना है। जहाँ तक बात है कि कोर्ट के जो फैसले आते हैं वो किस पे आते हैं और कैसे आते हैं, वो आपको भी पता, हमको भी पता है।
मुझे नहीं पता,
पता है।
मैंने जुडिशरी 5-7 साल कवर किया है, मुझे नहीं पता। मेरे हिसाब से तो कोर्ट में जिरा होती है और फिर फैसला आ जाता है। आपके हिसाब से कैसे?
मेरे हिसाब से आता है ना, मेरे हिसाब से ये आता है कि एक FIR दर्ज होती है, उस पर पुलिस अपनी कार्रवाई करती है, विवेचना करती है, प्रूफ इकट्ठा करती है, प्रमाण इकट्ठा करती है। वो करने में किसी जगह किसी भी घटना में कभी कभी 3 साल लग जाते हैं, 2 साल लग जाते हैं, चार्जशीट करने में साल भी लग जाते हैं।
ठीक है,
तो लगते हैं, समय लगते हैं और पुलिस को इकट्ठा करना होता है कुछ चीजों को।
इसमें भी लगभग 2 से 3 साल लग गए हैं।
2 से 3 साल। तो पुलिस ने अच्छा से काम किया है और पुलिस के भी कारनामों पे मुझे कुछ कहना नहीं है। पुलिस कैसे काम करती है, जहाँ तक कि कोर्ट ने CBI के कार्रवाई के ऊपर बात कर चुकी है, तो फिर मुझे पुलिस के ऊपर कुछ बोलने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। जहाँ तक बात है डिफेंड करने की, किसी भी व्यक्ति को कैसे डिफेंड किया जा सकता है? कोर्ट ने कहा संजय मिश्रा दोषी है, मतलब प्रमाण के ऊपर बोला है, संजय मिश्रा को दोषी मानना चाहिए। लेकिन जो सेम एक्यूज जो काम संजय मिश्रा ने किया है, यदि सेम काम कपिल मिश्रा ने किया है, तो उसमें दोहरे रवैये नहीं अपनाने चाहिए।
कैसे दोहरे रवैये?
मैं बता रहा हूँ। एक के ऊपर ये है कि उसने भड़काने का काम किया, जो आपके बयान अभी मैं सुन रहा था कि कोर्ट ने ऐसा कहा है। कपिल मिश्रा ने तो खुलेआम भड़काया था।
कपिल मिश्रा के घर से बंदूक नहीं मिली, कपिल मिश्रा के घर से बोरियों में पत्थर नहीं मिले, कपिल मिश्रा ने छत पे चढ़कर कहीं पर पेट्रोल के बॉम्ब नहीं फेंके। मतलब ये आप किस तरह का कंपैरिजन कर रहे हैं, मुझे समझ में भी नहीं आ रहा है।
मैं नहीं करूंगा ना। मैं आपके चैनल पे बैठ के यदि मैं कुछ एक जाति या एक धर्म के बारे में कोई बात करके जाऊं, वो भड़काना नहीं होगा, क्योंकि मेरे हाथ में तो कुछ है ही नहीं। मेरे हाथ में कहाँ कुछ है? मेरे हाथ में ना बम है, बंदूक नहीं है, कुछ भी नहीं है। मैं तो सिर्फ जुबान चला रहा हूँ। ताहिर हुसैन के पास तो सब कुछ मिल गया जी। मैं तो बोल रहा हूँ।
तो आप मानते हैं आप प्राइमा फेसी वो दोषी और आम आदमी पार्टी ने जैसे उसको डिफेंड किया नहीं करना चाहिए था, आप मानते हैं बात?
मैं समझता हूँ कि यदि आपके चैनल में मैं बैठा हूँ,
हाँ,
आपको मेरे बारे में कितना पता है, या आपके जितने भी पैनलिस्ट आते हैं आपको कितना पता है, हाँ। आपने उस मुद्दे पे बात की है। हाँ। आम आदमी पार्टी के लिए ताहिर हुसैन ने काम किया, उसके पार्षद हैं। डिफेंड करना नहीं करना पार्टी ने बेहतर जानते हैं।
I want to bring in चारू प्रज्ञा also into the discussion।
मैं कंप्लीट कर दूं एक
जी, अपनी बात पूरी करिए संजय जी।
हर जगह एक बात आ रही है कि पार्टी ताहिर हुसैन के लिए पार्टी ने डिफेंड किया। उन्नाव के विधायक को किसने डिफेंड किया था? बीजेपी के विधायक को। एक घटना के बाद उसके पूरे परिवार को खत्म कर देना, फिर लखनऊ में DGP के साथ मिलकर रात के 12 बजे पूरी मीडिया कैमरा लगाकर पूछ रही है।
और उस पूरे प्रकरण पर भारतीय मीडिया ने, समाज ने सबसे बीजेपी से सवाल भी पूछे थे और वैसे ही आपसे भी पूछे जा रहे हैं और पूछे जाएंगे। चारू प्रज्ञा of the BJP is also joining us on the broadcast. Good evening, Charu. Thank you so much for speaking to us. This is a scathing order which is coming in as a political opponent to the Aam Aadmi Party. What kind of political accountability you seek from them?
Anusha, good evening to you. And this order should have been out even earlier. The reason is that when the police was doing their investigations about the 2020 Delhi riots, it was very clear that on the terrace of Tahir Hussain, there were sticks and stones, there were bricks, there was a lot of stuff that was found which could even be made to used to be making crude bombs, and he was found to be instigating people. Like literally, he was found to be instigating people, and there was proof everywhere. It wasn't that BJP was accusing someone without seeing videos. There was videographic, photographic evidence every single day. So I am very glad that the court has worked fast and said this about him. And see, when you have this mentality of enticing a mob to destroy the very city that you live in, it is not just unhealthy for this city, it is not just unhealthy for politics, it is unhealthy for humanity in general. And to have a politician like that be defended by the Chief Minister of Delhi, be defended and shielded by Aam Aadmi Party, it is atrocious. He should have been put out of the party, and the Chief Minister should have said that we have nothing to do with him, investigate him as you please, put him behind bars, because the city and the people of the city are more precious, public property is more precious. He did not do that.
एक सवाल और है जो संजय मिश्रा हैं, उन्होंने पूछा, आम आदमी पार्टी के सपोर्टर हैं, उन्होंने पूछा कि दोहरे मापदंड हैं जो लगाए जा रहे हैं। अगर कपिल मिश्रा ने कपिल मिश्रा के ऊपर सवाल उठाया, बीजेपी के बहुत सारे नेताओं के ऊपर सवाल उठाया, उस पर आपकी टिप्पणी?
देखिए, मैं वो सारी बातें सुन रही थी। मुझे आप एक बात बताइए, कपिल मिश्रा जो बोलते हैं, अगर वो उसको जस्टिफाई कर रहे हैं, उसके पीछे एक रीजनिंग वो दे पा रहे हैं। क्या ताहिर हुसैन रीजनिंग दे सकता है दिल्ली में आग लगाने के लिए? रीजनिंग दे सकता है बस जल रही है, लोगों का नुकसान हो रहा है? क्या वो रीजनिंग दे सकता है हिंदू मुस्लिम को लड़वाने के लिए हमारे दिल्ली जैसे शहर में? देयर इज नो रीजनिंग बिहाइंड इट, एंड यू कैन नॉट कंपेयर द टू. यू एब्सोल्युटली कंप्लीटली कैन नॉट कंपेयर 100% criminal activity to somebody talking about their religion, for example. You cannot compare it. And I will call a spade a spade, Anusha. I'm going to call a spade. So if there is a time when any BJP leader is found to be guilty of any crime, we never mince our words. Not just the party taking action against that person, also allowing the investigating authorities to carry out their investigations in a free and fair manner, disassociating with wrong basically, and that has to be an onus on the political party. I can confidently and truly on national television with you today say on CNN that we do not associate with any wrongdoing. Absolutely not. Does Aam Aadmi Party say that?
I want to dwell a little bit more. It's great that you're picking up that narrative, and I think that's the narrative that any responsible political party should pick up, not to side with people who are specially accused of serious or heinous offences. There are various statements of the BJP leaders which have been played up on social media, and some kind of discourse has been made that in 2020 Delhi riots, संजय जी मैं आपके पास आ रही हूँ, that in 2020 Delhi riots, as if the ruling establishment or the government had a role to play. That kind of discourse has also found its way in social media and in certain channels. If you look at the court orders, if you look at the various investigations and the cases that are going on, there is no proof to prove any of those charges. The question that has been raised on the conduct of the Delhi police is also something that Sanjay Mishra ji was talking about. Would you want to speak on these points?
हाँ, मैं ये कहना चाह रहा
संजय जी आपके पास आ रही हूँ, चारु प्रज्ञा से एक सवाल है
जी. Yes, I am of course talking about it. So that is what I was trying to say. When you are instigating riots, when you are coordinating riots, when you are causing life and property damage in a city like Delhi, only because it serves some political motive for you, and you have a chief minister and Aam Aadmi Party shielding that, there is no defense. Delhi police is an independently acting and investigating agency, and we should let them do their work. See, when we have videographic and photographic evidence in a country like India today, you cannot hide the truth. So if Aam Aadmi Party says, oh, we have nothing to do with this, I am sorry. We had videos of Tahir Hussain at the roof of his house and saying, hum kisi ko nahi chodenge. We had videos of him saying, yahan par patthar aur petrol aur bomb aur pata nahi kya kya ikhatta karke rakh lijiye. There is no shying away from this. So when somebody starts a discussion on social media, if it is a narrative you don't agree with, you can talk it out. You are not going to burn a city down.
So, Tausif, is that a false analogy to draw? The point that Sanjay Mishra ji was making, that there were various statements that were made on the other side as well. This court order and talking about the conduct of Tahir Hussain clearly nails him on many counts. Of course, a final judgment is awaited, but prima facie, this is the view that the court has taken.
You see, assuming that the footages showing Tahir Hussain at the top of his house are true, not admitting, but assuming. I mean, what kind of analogy is this? That a person standing at the terrace of his own house can only burn his own house. By standing on his own terrace, he cannot burn the entire city.
Tausif, are you really making that argument? If there are petrol bombs that have been recovered from somebody's house, if there are sacks of stones that have been recovered from a place, a licensed weapon that has been recovered by the Delhi police, are you really saying he cannot harm the people in the vicinity from the rooftop? Is that your argument?
Look at the defense pleaded by the counsel of Tahir Hussain. The defense says that I am prepared to defend my life and my property. And the person is standing at his property only. He's not standing in any other property. If Tahir Hussain if there are footages showing that Mr. Hussain was carrying the weapon and was seen in another locality, then I would say yes, he has the intention to harm that locality.
Tausif, to answer your point, and I'm going to Kapil after this, it is sufficient to note, para 58, that this mob comprising of the accused persons, including Tahir Hussain, had stones and petrol bombs, and they threw it towards the property of so-and-so, where the parking lot was situated. The property was under the use of the Hindu community. So the petrol bombs, the stones, they were thrown at the properties of the Hindus living in the vicinity, living in the nearby areas. Kapil, we've just spoken about the key evidence which is there on record. How strong is that evidence? Kapil.
During the Gujarat riot, Ehsan Jafri...
Well,
I am not going to Gujarat
riot. It is strong enough. Just a second, sir. You had your chance. Just a second,
Kapil,
sir. We're not going there. Just a second.
Yeah.
All I want to say is that my friend kept on harping upon the defense of the accused. Sir, at the stage of charges, at the stage of argument of charge, the classical way to argue is that you take the charge sheet as the sacrosanct truth, the biblical truth, and then you show the loopholes to say that if we take the entire case to be true and correct, even then no case is either made out or will lead to an acquittal. You do not bring your defense evidence at this stage. That is going to, sir, just a second, that will not be taken at this stage. It will only be taken during the defense evidence stage after the prosecution evidence is over. So, sir, when you are actually putting you're putting the cart before the horse, sir. This is not the
Kapil,
stage.
but the argument of Tahir is that if I'm standing on my rooftop, I cannot do anything. I can only defend myself. That argument, point blank, has been rejected by the court. It's not even an argument in all honesty.
Anybody would reject it even at defense stage.
Yeah.
It is no argument in the eyes of law. At this stage, you're not supposed to see you're not supposed to make a factual argument. Wait, no, sir.
Okay,
you're not supposed to make an argument on fact at the stage of argument on charge. You're not supposed to make an argument on fact at the stage of argument on charge.
A quick response from you, and then I'll go to Sanjay Mishra.
See, we have a history, we have a precedent already set in Gujarat riot. Ehsan Jafri house was surrounded by the mob. He was killed, his house was burned down. So,
and Ehsan Jafri was a victim. He did not have petrol bombs in his house. He did not have a pistol in his house. He was not storing stone in his house. Jafri was a victim for which there is a trial.
To defend himself.
And that was a license. That was a licensed pistol. That was a licensed pistol. That was a licensed pistol.
To the happenings of our country, we cannot be blind to what happened in Gujarat riot.
So you are going to have petrol bombs in your house? Are you really making that argument, Tausif?
Person belonging to any
community. Are you justifying somebody storing petrol bombs in their house? I want to know that.
Law gives the right to each citizen
to store petrol bombs in their houses.
Citizen, whether Hindu or a Muslim, has a right to defend themselves.
And to store petrol bombs in their house.
He can also have a gun. That is what I'm saying.
No. Okay. He can have an authorized gun. Point taken. Can he have petrol bombs? Please answer that, Tausif.
If a mob is approaching with petrol bomb and in defense you also have a petrol bomb, then it is justified under the law, under the scheme of law.
It is justified. Both of them are criminals. What kind of argument are you even making? I want to go to...
I'm talking about weapon. You talked about weapon. If there
are two mobs with petrol bombs, both are writing on record. No.
Yes.
Under the law.
Under the law, if there are two sets of mobs, if there are two set of people with petrol bombs on their hands, they are mobs, they are rioting,
Then
they
both are rioting.
both are criminals. There is no defense of
Court
one
is not
from the
treating
other.
them similar. Court is letting Kapil Sharma go.
Kapil Sharma did not have a petrol bomb. That's a false analogy.
Sir,
Sanjay
that is a
Mishra,
separate case.
Sanjay Mishra, I'm coming to you. And once
Apples
again,
and oranges, sir.
Whatever Tahir Hussain says is not a gospel truth.
संजय मिश्रा, आई हैव
Apples
लास्ट
and
मिनट.
oranges,
संजय जी
sir,
आपके
apples
पास
and
आ रही हूँ.
oranges,
संजय जी
two
आपके
totally
पास आ
different
रही हूँ. राजनीतिक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी की एक बात हो रही है कि अगर इस तरह का पूरा वाकया हुआ है, आपने बीजेपी से भी कई सवाल किए, और अगर आम आदमी पार्टी के एक लोकल नेता के ऊपर इस तरह से सवाल उठा था, तो आम आदमी पार्टी को एक दूरी बनाए रखनी चाहिए थी. उनको बोलना चाहिए था कि पुलिस अपना काम कर रही है और जैसे अपना काम करना चाहती है करे. उन्होंने एक बहुत लंबे समय तक अपने नेता को डिफेंड किया है, अपने नेता को बचाने की कोशिश की.
ठीक है, मैं ये बताता हूँ आपको
जी.
इस पे सिर्फ इतना ही कहना चाहता हूँ आपको कि ताहिर हुसैन जो एक नाम है, ये नाम कुछ खास लोगों को पसंद है और इनके फायदे का नाम है ताहिर हुसैन. मेरे बातों पे जरा गौर कीजिएगा. ये नाम सूट कर रहा है किसी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी को या किसी संस्था को, संगठन को. जी
नहीं सर, कट्टा होगा, लेकिन सवाल ये है कि कोर्ट ऑर्डर में कुछ चीजें बोली गई.
मैं कोर्ट पे ही रहूंगा, उसके बयान पे ही रहूंगा. तो एक तो ताहिर हुसैन जो नाम है वो सूट कर रहा है, इसलिए ये चलेगा. दूसरा, आपने जो कोर्ट की बात, ताहिर हुसैन इतना चालाक था कि वो अपनी पूरी बुद्धि और विवेक से दंगा फैलाने का पूरा प्रोपगेंडा कर रहा था, लेकिन वहाँ मूर्ख था कि सारे जो सामान थे, वो जो आप पत्थर भी, वो शीशे भी और सारी चीज़ें वो अपने छत के ऊपर रख रखा था. वो भूल गया था कि यदि तहकीकात होगी, इसकी जांच होंगे तो हमारे घर तक भी जांच होंगे. वो नहीं सोच पा रहा था इस चीज़ को. इस पे थोड़ी सी सोचने की ज़रूरत है आपको भी. हाँ ठीक है, ये विवेचना में आया होगा, मैं उस पर सवाल ही नहीं उठाना चाह रहा हूँ. मेरा कहीं से कोई सवाल नहीं है, ना तो
मेरे पास
पुलिसिया
समय
कार्रवाई
कम
पे
है
सवाल
संजय
है.
जी, इसलिए मैं आपको बीच में रोक रही हूँ, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं एक राजनीतिक जवाबदारी की इस देश में जरूरत है
ना.
किसी भी सीरियस ऑफेंस की अगर बात हो, आपने उन्नाव का जिक्र किया, बहुत सारी दूसरी
मैं उसी पे कंप्लीट कर रहा था.
ऑफ टाइम सर, आई हैव टू क्लोज द डिबेट. चारू प्रज्ञा, संजय मिश्रा, तौसीफ अहमद खान, कपिल सांकला, थैंक यू gentlemen for joining us on the broadcast. The framing of charges, of course this is not the final order, but the framing of charges is the first step when in a criminal trial the court forms a prima facie view of the evidence which has been put on record. It's not the final verdict, but prima facie it does pose some very serious questions on the conduct of the Aam Aadmi Party corporator and of course the larger questions of political accountability in this country. With that, it's a wrap. Thank you for watching.
It was not Mr. Lapid's job, even as the head of the international jury, to hijack the occasion and the platform.
आपको तकलीफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव हेड कोई बना उससे है कि आपको तकलीफ की ये परिवारवाद का लेबल आप पर चिपक गया उससे है?
Enough and more issues that the Congress can raise as an opposition party in the state of Gujarat, then why is Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge talking about Riots?
The Consul General in Mumbai went personally and apologized to Anupam Kher. They are saying, in fact, the ambassador said, you should be ashamed. You have disrespected the invitation given by your host, in this case, India.